Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Vegas. It's nice to see so many people up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I guess we get the serious people in the jewelry industry. The adventure before us is to cover a lot of the stuff that's happening out there in what has become an increasingly complex world in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. See what we're talking about. The first thing I'd like everyone to do, think strategically. Now, what does that mean? Let's say you come up here, hey, Rapaport, your price is going up, your price is going down, you know? Well, not really. It doesn't really matter. If you're really a good added value person in the diamond or jewelry industry, prices should not matter. And if you think you're a genius because you bought some diamonds and then the price went up, or you didn't buy and the price went down, that's very short-term thinking. It's gambling. It's like, playing a hand of blackjack. That's not what it's all about. If you run a good business, diamond prices going up or down shouldn't be the deciding factor as to your success over the medium to long term. Again, if you're running a good business, the movement of prices should not be the deciding factor as to whether or not you're successful over the medium to long term. Short-term moves is cute, but it's not really the essence of who you are and what you need to do. What is the real story then? It's about adding value. And you got to ask yourself the question, and let's through this talk today, what's the cost benefit of your adding value? If you add value, say for 10% of the value of the product you sell, or 20 or 50 or 100%, what does it cost? What are you charging people for that? Be very aware of competition. The world is getting much more competitive than it was. And as soon as you come up with a good idea, there'll be 100 people there to steal it. Just because you're an innovator today doesn't mean that much, because there are companies that do nothing but look at people that innovate and copy them. And sometimes they do better than the original person. Hone in on your unique selling proposition. Because if you have a good unique selling proposition, that's the secret to your success in any business, but particularly the diamond and jewelry business. And you've got to ask yourself that question, who needs you? Who needs you? What do you do that really matters? And if you say, well, I'm a retailer, I got a lot of good customers, and they buy from me, and I give them reasonable education and good deals, and fine. If you're a designer, great. You know how to cut diamonds really well, maybe that's also good. But that's the key to your success. It isn't grabbing the latest movement in diamond prices. So the fixation in diamond prices is probably a distraction, which you really need to do. Oops, I got to go forward, not backwards. So what's value about? Value is about quality divided by price. Pretty straightforward, right? You increase the quality of the product you're selling at the same price, you're giving someone greater value, but also your added value. So whatever, Tiffany's is not about the commodity of diamonds. Even Lawrence Graff isn't about the commodity of diamonds, because you can buy the same diamond at 47th Street a lot cheaper. It's the added value swing. And profit is revenue minus cost plus your brand. Sometimes you'll sell something, sometimes you'll do something, and you won't realize that what you're doing is increasing your value to the customers, to your customers, because you're building your brand. And you'll sort of write it off. Don't, because your brand and who you are is probably one of the most important aspects of your adding value. Work on that brand, work on your identity, work on your added value. So your price should reflect your added value in your brand. It should not affect the short-term movements of diamond prices. And that's just the strategic way of thinking, rather than I'm looking at my belly button, what's going to happen tomorrow. It's more like, well, what am I really doing in this industry, and how am I adding value? Whoops, I keep going backwards instead of forwards. Okay, so what are we doing here today? What do we want to accomplish? Obviously, everyone wants to know what's going to happen to the diamond and jewelry trade over the medium term. What are the mega forces reshaping our industry? Because we know something's happening out there. And how are these mega forces going to work? And mostly a lot of people want to know, how can they position themselves for success in the years ahead? Think surfer boy or surfer girl. You got your surfboard. You got waves. Which wave should you ride? How do you position? Because no matter how strong you are in making waves, you're never going to be as good and make as much profit as if you can actually surf the waves of change that are hitting us anyhow. So you got to think about what's happening, how do you position yourself, and then you make lots of money. So what are these mega forces and mega trends? Now, mega trends, everybody likes to talk about it. And we will bring up issues like one of the mega trends is women. One of the mega trends is social stuff. One of the mega trends are Hispanics. Those are things that are happening out there. A mega force is different. It's something that comes along and hits you in the face with a baseball bat. You're running your business, everything's fine, and now something happens that changes your world. You can be the best jeweler, the best designer, the best whatever, and boom, you get whacked by something that is happening beyond your control. Now, I'm looking at mega forces on the global level, not just the United States retailer. The big picture, go outer space, look at the world and say, what's happening, man? What are the weather patterns like globally? We'll look at some of them today, but basically our talks will focus on demographics. Demographics don't lie. It's a fact. There's so many billion Chinese, so many billion Indians. Now what the hell's going to happen? And how will that make a difference to the U.S. retailers, say? So this whole globalization story, we'll talk about the distribution chain, ethical business practices, and retailing. We won't have a lot of time to dig into these things seriously and as we should, but we'll give you a taste of a way of thinking. So if I finish this talk today and you walk out and you're saying, well, I don't understand this or that, I have succeeded. Because the ultimate challenge is for people to think on themselves and think about their position and how it relates to these mega forces and these trends and these things happening, how you position yourself. I can't surf for you. I can tell you, hey, there comes that wave, and here comes that wave, and I can get you thinking. But essentially, this is not a session of question, answer, off I go. That's not the game here. The game here is to stimulate your thinking about strategic things so that you come up with your own ideas. Plus, I can be wrong. I can be absolutely wrong on some stuff. So if you think about the megatrends, how you fit in, that would be a very nice thing for me to accomplish today. So what's up? What's happening? There's a major shift in global economic, socio-political, and military power in the world today. And you got to understand, America is a great country. It is still a great country. It will always be a great country. America today is the strongest and the best market for diamonds, period, in spite of everything we've heard. But that megatrend of things happening overseas relating to the supply and the demand and all that, that's happening. And it's not just about economics, it's about political power. I'm not talking just about the Arab Spring, and you'll see I'll talk about India and I'll talk about China and the energies that are coming. It's also about military stuff. China's building aircraft carriers. And the military balance in the world is shifting. Russia, if oil prices go up, becomes extremely arrogant. So the world that we're living in is not the same. This America, 80% of jewelry demand, and don't worry about it, and we are the leaders. We're still leaders, but we have some serious problems. It's just that's the way the world is changing. Resource and currency warfare. Billions of Indians and Chinese want to drive the same cars that we do. They want the same air conditioning. They want the same values, quality of life, not values necessarily. They want stuff. And there isn't necessarily enough stuff to go around because we consume tremendous amounts of minerals and you name it. So what's happening out there is there's going to be resource warfare. There's going to be kind of positioning. Africa has probably gone the way of China mostly. So that is going to create a certain tension in how the world works. There's changing social values. Young people today, particularly affluent young people who buy expensive engagement rings, have different social values than their parents. And certainly different social values than people in China and India. So this whole story of external-internal interactions, something happens in China, what does it mean to me? We're going to talk about that a little bit. So you can understand how you're doing your job and something comes along and it really affects you, and how can you think about it? How can you protect yourself? How can you kind of say, well, it's a China thing, it doesn't mean much to me, it does mean something to me. You can think about it given the tools hopefully we'll give you today. Now look at demographics. 1.3 billion Chinese. 1.2 Indian. These people, now look at their GDP per capita. I got a little pointer. You guys can see the screens, right? The GDP per capita is low, 8,400. I mean, these are relatively 7 trillion, 1.8 trillion against the United States, $17.7 trillion. Now, my rabbi used to say, he said, look, I don't care how religious you are. Are you getting more religious or less religious? That's what my rabbi says. These places are growing because of the demographics, the sheer number of people. And they're going to have a greater impact on the world than you can possibly imagine. And that's something that we need to understand, that that's the driving force of change. It isn't some genius politician. It isn't some problem in America with housing, although those are factors. But underneath it all is more fundamental stuff. Billions of people out there growing up, becoming middle class. 100 million new middle class consumers every year. Maybe 80 million. That's a huge amount. I mean, could you consider that the whole United States is 311 million populations? In 2 or 3 years, the entire population of America is merging into middle class overseas. It's like new skin growing. And those buyers are going to have a tremendous impact on gold, diamonds, jewelry, all kinds of other minerals, but certainly golds and diamonds in our business. Your competition is not across the street. Your competition is going to be in China, possibly India, and other markets. So there's a tsunami wave of demand coming. We used to think of globalization as, oh, you know, these guys took our jobs. They got cheap labor in China, cheap labor in India. And guess what? First of all, the labor in China is not so cheap anymore. And some manufacturers are bringing back their manufacturing to the United States. But these yesterday's suppliers are today's consumers. The real story of globalization has shifted from the supply side of the equation to the demand side. They want your stuff. They want your steel, they want your minerals, they want your diamonds, they want whatever you've got. These people want it, and they're very hungry because they've never had it. So globalization is a story of globalization of demand, not really globalization of supply. Now, we have some strange stuff going on. I guess you'd have to call it nouveau riche countries. Look at me, okay? I sit out here, and I'm sitting at this table, and there's cookies on the table. Cookies, nice chocolate chip cookies. Now, I know that I shouldn't be eating those cookies. But I can't resist it. They're really good cookies. So I kind of sneak my finger across the table, and I have one cookie and another cookie, etc. Now, imagine you're the Minister of Finance of India. And India has seen tremendous growth, and there's lots of money out there. And there's a company like Vodafone who does a $3.6, my numbers may not be exact here, I just want to give $3.6 billion buyout of their local thing. And the minister says, geez, there's people who have money, billions of dollars. Let's get some of those cookies. So they go, they say, you got to pay us money, and it goes to the Supreme Court of India. And the Supreme Court says, you have no right to eat those cookies, Mr. Finance Minister, or Mr. Government of India. So the government of India then goes out and rewrites their tax laws retroactively to like 1956. It says, okay, guys, you got to pay taxes, you got to pay penalties, you got to pay interest on billions of dollars. And the whole world is in shock and says, we invest in India. You mean now you can do whatever you want? You can make retroactive taxes? And then the government doesn't say, I'm sorry. The government says, yes, that's how we think. Now, then they go and they put a 4% tax on gold and a 2% tax on diamonds overnight, like the tax takes place within 48 hours. And then they go and they say, okay, anybody that's got dollars or foreign currency, convert 50% of your foreign currency into rupees because we need more rupees. So what do you get? You get this. The rupee against the dollar has died totally. Now, India is the largest diamond manufacturing place in the world with like 500,000, 500,000 cutters. They're going to impact our business somehow. I'll talk about how India, in fact, has had a huge impact on diamond prices. But the fact is that we are dealing with a government that is like a little kid with a Ferrari. They can't handle their wealth. They can't handle their growth. So we have this changing world, which is globalized, and we have wacko governments. Not just India, maybe it's Zimbabwe. The source, maybe the Congo. You want to deal with someone in the Congo? And we have to now, as a diamond industry, recognize that globalization is bringing new players into the game, and some of these players they're new, they don't understand, or they're just greedy. You know, some of them, In India's case, I would say that it's a unique combination of arrogance and greed, or arrogance, ignorance, and greed, actually. Now, it's not their fault. They're new. They never had so much money around, and they want to eat the cookies. So they just grab them. But how is that going to affect our business? Can we rely on them? Do we have a regulatory certainty with the largest diamond manufacturer in the world? Do we know what these guys are going to do? No. How would this play out, for example? So you see the rupee go down. Really go down long term as well. But think about what that means. You know, you had a situation, we'll come back to this one in a minute. You had a situation where India had tremendous credit facilities for the diamond industry in 2010 and 2011. The banks had a rule, 30% of their loans had to be to export promotional industries. And so there was billions of dollars made available to Indian diamond dealers. It shouldn't surprise you that rough prices went up because they had the money. If you have money, maybe you don't want to hold it in rupees, maybe you want to hold it in gold or something else. I'll come back to that slide. I don't mean to make you that crazy. But the credit situation in India in the first half of 2011 and 2010 created a diamond boom. Boom, wow, diamond prices are going up in rough. The Chinese bought into this. And they said, oh, my God, I got to buy diamonds now because they're going to go up. But in the second half of 2011, by the second half, the Indian credit situation reversed itself. And some Indian companies were already starting to dump diamonds a bit. And so the so-called global stoppage problem in the diamond industry was simply the removal of excess Indian credit. And that's really important when you're talking about billions of dollars, 500,000 cutters, big play on rough, and all that. Now what's going on is that I'm predicting that it's going to get worse out there. And some of these guys are going to want to sell their diamonds. And so we don't know for sure what's going to happen. I can only tell you that the largest diamond manufacturer in the world looks sick to me. Doesn't mean the diamond prices are going to plummet necessarily, because there's a lot of other factors like the rough supply. But it does mean that we are in a different scenario, and that the big lesson here is that globalization is taking control of the diamond industry and the gold price away from the normal players. External factors like government policies are having a huge and will have even greater impact on our sources of supply. And that's what you've got to be thinking about to understand how you want to protect yourself and what you want to do. You can see rupee versus gold effective June of 11. Now that's a pretty big shift. Do you want to hold your money, if you're an Indian, in rupees or in gold or diamonds? Tell me, somebody. You want to have your money in gold. Now, the government says you're not allowed to have foreign currencies. So bang, I'm sure you're going to run. The more the government says you can't have dollars, the more you want dollars. They said, get rid of your foreign currency, and then the rupee goes down. You're losing your wealth. It's a big deal. I mean, I'm talking about India today, but this could be other countries too. But look at this story about values of currencies and gold. Gold, by the way, isn't a commodity. Gold is a money. It's a store of value. It's a way in which people get their money to protect it against wacko governments messing them up. But if you see this, you can understand why people are saying, hold it a minute, I better, why did gold go up? Anybody, well, take a look. It's a pretty good story right here as to one of the reasons gold went up so strongly. And by the way, the dollar has been exceptionally strong. And it's not that the dollar is so great. It's that the rest of the world is so messed up. You take a tall 6-foot, 7-foot guy and stick him next to me, and he'll look taller, and I'll look shorter. Right? So, I mean, look, think about the relationship between monies, what's going on globally, and the fact that this is going to impact our diamond industry and our jewelry industry a lot, because don't forget, everybody in the world buys this stuff. So either on the demand side, you got Chinese women that are saying, I want my diamond. On the supply side, you got stuff going on that says, I got to sell because I don't have enough credit. So there's all these different forces that are impacting us, both on the demand and the supply side. Here's an interesting slide about diamonds, going back to January of 2008, before the boom-bust cycle. Amazingly, diamonds outperformed, obviously, the rupee. But they're not so bad, relative to the S&P 500, to gold. I don't have any, they're halfway there. And the basic question is, gold's going up, why aren't diamonds? Gold's are an investment, why aren't diamonds? Should diamonds be an investment? And that's an interesting question. Let me stop for a minute. Am I going too fast for everybody here? Are we cool? I was kind of laying down a lot of these numbers and graphs. I hope I'm not freaking you out, right? Good. So the question is, if gold goes up, why don't diamonds? Well, like I said, gold's a money. People have confidence, all kinds of qualities of diamonds. Don't trust the diamonds so much. Can't liquidate them so easily. So the question becomes, are diamonds an investment? And are we as the diamond industry missing a significant aspect of demand? You know, gold has got a lot of good stuff behind it. It's got the idea of, wearing jewelry, wedding bands. Wow. If anything's stronger than, only thing that's stronger than diamonds when it comes to the relationship between a man and a woman is that gold wedding band that he and she, possibly he wears. That is a real powerful thing. So the emotional thing about gold is, and then gold jewelry has got a long history. But what about diamonds? Should they be performing? Could we create an investment diamond? I'm committed to doing that. So I guess some people will like it, some people won't like it. I don't care that much about what people like. It's what we can do. And I believe that diamonds will become a serious investment product. Not for everybody, maybe not as strong as gold. But we will be able to capture some of that price difference. I should get one of these little pointer thingies here. We'll be able to capture. Does this work? It used to work. I guess you push the button and it should work here. Oh, there it is. You see that? See that difference over there? That's demand. That's price. And the question is, can we, in fact, capture extra demand for diamonds? It'll create more legitimacy, transparency, etc. So that's an interesting challenge for the diamond industry. It's a challenge for Rapaport. And it's something that we're working on. One of our key goals is going to be to create, that market. Because, if people buy, and by the way, in the Far East, when women buy diamonds, they're thinking, or men buy diamonds from women, they're thinking this is a store of value. You all read about those Christie's and Sotheby's auctions, and that's not just for luxury, I'm going to feel good today. That's an investment, guys. Spending $10 million in a diamond. That's not a story all about, well, looks kind of pretty this week, No, that's an investment. And we're seeing that more and more as currencies get more wacky and people don't know what to do with their money. A lot of money out there. And so people are going to be buying diamonds for investment no matter what we do. Having an organized market would boost demand and also give us an opportunity to, legitimize our product much better. So we're missing significant demand, which is good because that means we can get to it. There's a way forward that's going to make diamonds even sexier and more interesting. In India, jewelers buy back the diamonds. In India, they buy back gold and they'll buy back the diamonds. You bring them a diamond, they'll buy it back within a second. Generic diamonds are a big problem for the diamond industry also because De Beers has stopped advertising generic diamonds. Think about that. We have been so comfortable over the years taking for granted the idea that the diamond dream was built up with tremendous advertising and tremendous promotion. The 3-stone ring. Hey, where's this year's 3-stone ring idea? And so you get now this bifurcation of rough markets, which makes it more competitive and interesting. But there's no one carrying the torch for diamonds. You may get a little competition among brands. It's like, the mining companies kind of dumped this on us and said, okay, guys, you guys in the mining industry, we used to do it, we're out of here. Go compete with each other with your little ads or whatever, your big ads or your campaigns, and let all these companies take it. But no one is selling generic diamonds anymore. Huge problem, huge issue. Now, the gold industry, hey, they're cool. World Gold Council, they went to Wall Street and said, let's make a product, a GLD product. The diamond industry is like, oh my God, I'm afraid, I don't want to do anything. Eventually, we'll do it, Rapaport will do it, etc. But the fundamentals here are that we are in a scenario where, don't forget that the generic advertising campaigns of about $200 million a year that were running till a couple of years ago are no longer with us. Which means we have to take a much more proactive role selling ourselves. Brand yourself. You can't rely on everybody to just feed you. I'm a retailer. I sit in my store. People are going to walk in. that's the old way. You got to be thinking aggressively about how you get out there and how you push your diamonds, how you push your ideas. The engagement ring idea is so wonderful. But if it's not supported, I tell you, people start saying, man, diamonds, blood diamonds, give me a sapphire, To the jeweler, it doesn't matter that much because as long as you're making a good profit margin, what do you care? So, that's fine. I talk to people and say, what do you do? I say, oh, I make diamonds. I go, I'm sorry to hear that. The other guy says, what do you do? He says, well, I make jewelry. I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that. So the guy says, Rapaport, what do you do? He says, well, I make money. It's a whole different kind of philosophy. The jeweler meets the needs of their customers to provide them with a very strong, symbolic product that reflects the love and the relationship between the man and the woman, man and the mistress, whatever. And, it's in that game of a prestige and power. Whatever it is you're selling, it's the idea behind the product. We all know that. So what that idea is symbolized in is less important to the consumer sometimes if things change, if something else becomes cool. Now, I believe in diamonds, and I'm not saying here for a minute that the diamond's going to be replaced, and we're going to have it and do it. All I'm saying is that as an industry, we are not doing what other industries are doing to promote their products. World Gold Council, the Platinum Guild, the Pearl Association, you name it. And I think that's a problem for the diamond industry, but the way to solve it is really to push yourself, to push your idea that you are the diamond king in your city or your community or in your factory. I'm the king of radiance. I'm the king of marquises. I'm the king of rounds. I'm the king of certs, whatever it is that you're the king of. But you need to promote the diamonds. And we have a little Rapaport plan. I'm getting older, I spend a lot of time talking, and lately I've been talking less, writing less, and doing more. And I'm thinking, I look at this industry, tell George to tell Peter to do something, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, I kind of lost faith in getting all these kumbaya singing people to change the world. And so we're just getting out there and doing stuff ourselves. We're running this RapX thing that I said, well, it'll be an exchange, bid-ask prices for diamonds, Search, GIA search, bid-ask prices, have a nice day. Rap Lab that'll grade the stuff on top of the GIA. Everyone know what BBC is? See, the real challenge is to be able to buy a diamond without looking at it. That's a big challenge. We call it BBC. BBC is black, like a black inclusion versus a white inclusion. Brown, or the tinge of the stone being brown, or God forbid, green, we'll talk about that. And the center inclusion. And the cert doesn't tell you that. So what we're trying to do is get to the point where you can get enough information about a diamond that you can really decide to buy it. And even without the BBC, a lot of people are buying certs just off the internet or off of RapNet or whatever. So that market is going to expand, it's going to grow, it's going to become more official, it's going to become more transparent, it's going to become more clear, and we're going to drive it to investors as well. So we're going to create a world where an investor can get in and out of a diamond at very low cost. And that's something I can't talk about too much today, but around September we'll be announcing what we're doing, and you'll see. But right now we're doing RapX, which should allow people, it's like RapNet. I imagine people here are familiar with RapNet, right? Okay, hopefully you are. RapX is an exchange. So it's like NASDAQ. It's like click and buy. All right, let's talk a little bit about, first let me stop and breathe for a minute. Anybody understand this global story, right? And you're with me, guys? Okay. What is the diamond business really like? Distribution, 15 billion of rough, 23 billion of polished, which means that there's an added value of about 53% from the whole in Africa until the polished diamond being imported, say, or sold in the United States as at wholesale price. And then another 170% as you go to diamond jewelry. So the diamonds are adding value. Our business is essentially about making $35 billion in the game. Unless, of course, you happen to own a mine, in which case you make about $7.5 billion, the mining sector, because their costs are about half. So we're looking at added value of about 233% from the source, and it's all in the distribution, manufacturing and distribution of the product. Now, here's an amazing story. And I get this, how come I can't find the diamond I want? How come people won't send it to me on memo? How come I can't do what I was doing 5 years ago? Well, the world is changing. Look at this graph, okay? Now you can see that in like 2008, diamond production came down sharply, as did diamond prices. That's this thing over here. equally opportunity. There you go. See that over there? Going up. Everything's hunky-dory at that's 2008, guys, okay? And that yellow thing is, what is that? That yellow thing is the actual millions of dollars of value of diamonds. And then these diamonds hang around over here at about, whatever I can see over here, that's the billions of dollars. It's 100 and whatever. I can't see so much. 120 or whatever that number is over there. And that's the value of the, that's the value. That's the amount of carats. 125 million carats. But the value goes up. Now, what happens when value goes up and the amount of carats remain the same? Well, prices go nuts. So what's basically happened is the mining companies have said, we want to sell this much diamonds. Even though we came down, we're not going to increase the number of diamonds that we're selling so much. You got a couple billion probably in Russia holding back and whatever it is. And then, boom, the price just keeps going up. Now, part of this might be those Indian speculators, credit stories, or whatever have you. But that means there's not a lot more. We're at about 2002 or something in the amount of diamonds that are out there. So all this so-called bigger amount of inventory. Now, some of these diamond companies, mining companies, say, what the heck, look, we're going to sell this much diamonds. I don't mind having them in the ground. They're not afraid to keep diamonds in the ground. And this is why. This looks like it's the greatest thing since cream cheese. It tells you that the amount of diamonds that we're going to have available is going to run in this, tens of millions of carats or whatever, 100 million carats. Supply, millions of carats, 160 million carats, whatever have you. It's an increasing curve, but not great. It takes 7-8 years to do a new diamond mine, everybody. 7 years to do a diamond mine, we know what's pretty much going to be happening for a while. And these are all these hundreds of millions of new consumers showing up in India and China asking for diamonds. So the value story, billions of dollars or whatever, is growing. And the supply is pretty flat. And this is price increase, everybody. And the way that they increase prices is by not selling. It's like they say that this is, De Beers, like recently, this is my price. You want to buy it? Fine. You don't want to buy it? Don't buy it. I don't mind if it stays in the ground because they believe this is going to happen. I don't know if Angola is going to become legitimized and start mining diamonds. And, the risk of new diamond manufacturers coming in and competing with the existing mines isn't that great. Rio Tinto, BHP leaving the diamond business maybe because it doesn't have enough juice for them. It's like, why, it's not big enough. They don't see any new discoveries. They don't see any rock and roll there. It's not coal. So you got a problem this is a great curve for people that say, long term, don't worry, diamond business is going to be fine. There's going to be a lot of demand and a shortage of supply. But if we're in the business of making money by selling a product and we can't get enough product, I don't know how big a blessing that is. And people carry on about diamond prices. Come on, I know this sounds silly, but prices don't really matter. Diamonds are the slipperiest thing in the world. The guy's going to get engaged if he buys her an SI or he buys her a VS. And if she's so miserably, I have to have a VS, I'm not marrying you until I get a VS, then the guy's going to have to work harder or let her marry someone else if she's so picky. But the bottom line is give him a 90-pointer, give him an 80-pointer. Who cares? It's the symbolic trip that is about the diamond sale. It's not about the diamond, everybody. So you can sell them an engagement ring with a diamond in it, with a lower color, a lower clarity, a lower size, or whatever the heck it is. The price doesn't matter. Oh, that's me. Hi. Okay. The price doesn't matter. It's the idea behind the product that matters. So, in fact, the diamond prices go up. Is it going to shut us down? Is it going to make it more difficult? Because we can always change colors and colors. You can't do that with gold. You can't do that with platinum. We are blessed because our product transcends the price problem. So all the merchandisers are the heroes of our industry because they're the guys that go out there and do the value or perceived value, hopefully not too much perceived, but they do the value trip and they bring the product to the guy. And the customer buys it anyhow. Values change, perceptions change, desires change. But essentially you're going to get those diamond engagement rings going anyways, even if the price goes up. Now, this price thing is about the mining sector making a ton of money. And this curve over here is kind of scary because it tells you that you're not going to be able to be a spoiled American retailer for long. Either the Chinese will gobble up your goods, the mining companies will raise your prices, and things will happen. So get out there and merchandise and think about how you're already doing it with gold. You're, lighter gold, hollow gold. I don't know what you're doing. Tons of things are going on with gold. But if people stop buying gold because the gold price went up? No. And people aren't going to stop buying diamonds because diamonds get a little more expensive. But the bigger problem here is this thing. Okay, so everybody understands this curve, right? And by the way, my father used to say, everybody is destined to be a millionaire. Some people live that long and some don't. So this is a great graph if if you're going to get there. But these lines are not straight. 2008, we went, it's just a good long-term story. But in the meantime, we can have such roller coaster rides that will get shaken right out of the industry. Particularly if you've got global demand coming in and raising the price for your products and you've got merchandise wrong and you can't get the goods at the right price for Christmas and you're all messed up there. So, and not to mention if I do investment diamond things, that's a whole bunch of more demand coming in besides the Chinese changing the price of diamonds. So expect more price volatility, everybody. Get your merchandising hat on really well and figure out how you're going to sell and make money for diamonds without worrying about the price so much. I mean, if you get nothing from me today, get it that it's about your added value that has nothing to do with price that'll define your future in this industry or your success in the industry in the next couple of years, because it's going to be rock and roll time out there for any number of reasons. Anyways, this thing is sort of like a little bit of a curse because the mining companies now are saying, we don't care. I don't have to sell. I can just chill out. And so you think that the rough would, reflect the polished, right? Because, you got to sell the rough. So the rough has to be here, and the polished has got to be, worth more than the rough. You'd think that, wouldn't you? Well, that's not the way it works. So the rough actually comes along and gets to be at a higher price. The yellow line is rough prices. The red line are polished prices, and rough is ahead of polished. Now, the Indians are sitting there nervous because, not just about the credit problem, but they have all these cutters who left them. In 2008, India stopped manufacturing for quite a few months because of the crisis, and the cutters left and went into real estate. No, they went into textile. The diamond dealers went into real estate, but that's another story, with all the diamond money that the banks gave them. But fundamentally, the cutters disappeared and said, I'm not coming back to this diamond business. It's not reliable. So now the Indians will do anything to keep their cutters, including pay exorbitant rough prices. So sometimes they're buying this stuff at these stupid prices. But essentially, we're living in a world where rough is ahead of polished, which is a very unhealthy situation. I am predicting rough prices are going to fall, especially since the Indians are not going to get easy money from the banks. They're going to fall. No question about it. And that hopefully will be good for the industry because the diamond manufacturers can make some money, do some advertising, whatever have you. But fundamentally, this is the situation. It might be this way for the next, number of years. Rough ahead of polished because of this optimistic view that the diamond mining companies are going to have. So we have to recognize that things are not always rational. The diamond industry is not based on servicing your needs. Essentially, no one cares about you as a retailer. And you're going to have to make your own happiness. No, the bears are going to do generic advertising. The mining companies probably will not do the World Gold Council. No, your rough prices are not going to be necessarily rational. And so that's going to leave you with some interesting opportunities and interesting challenges. Not terrible, everybody. Don't freak out on me. But it's kind of, interesting that you can't assume that the person selling you the diamond, number one, has it. Number two, that you or the American jeweler are the best customer for it. And number three, that the diamond isn't remaining in the ground in Africa. The availability is no problem. Now, I'm just hacking you on India, and I want to show you something here. What we do is to find out what's going on in the world, we take a look at all the diamonds going into a country and all the diamonds going out of a country. So if I wanted to know, hey, what's really happening, I'll jump ahead here. In the United States, this is, I'm jumping around here. I could take a look at the United States and say, look, everybody, the U.S. is importing diamonds, polished. It's exporting it. And what's the difference between these two numbers? You can see that we're importing $21 billion and we're exporting 17, so that's about $4 billion. Okay? and a little bit of rough imports, a little bit of rough exports. So all the diamonds coming in of America, all the diamonds going out of America is $4 billion here. See that? Which is 8% less than last year. Now, in 2004, we were up to $7.7 billion worth of diamonds. And that was for a lot of years. And that was at 2004 prices. So it meant that basically the United States has been absorbing, like think of a sponge absorbing diamonds. Okay. So the question that Rapaport says is, hey guys, how much is the country absorbing? What's really happening out there when all the incoming diamonds and outgoing diamonds are tallied up? And this is a pretty good indicator of what was happening. Now, the United States, therefore, has come back, not where it was, but where it is. It's certainly better than 2009. You know, wow, that was the big year of the drop. I'm going to take you back to India a little bit, and I'm going to show you that in India, things went wacko. In India, they used to just be like hanging out here. They were negative, which meant they exported more diamonds than they imported because they made money in their diamond manufacturing industry. It came up, and then it jumped. After 2009 to 2.3 billion. Look at that, 738% jump. And I was thinking, this is great. Wow, those Indians are buying diamonds, they're getting married, you know, those billions of people, you know. I was kind of happy about it. I said, wow, that's great. But now, I see it jumped up again. And the economy isn't doing that great. What is going on here? And what's going on here are those interest rate games of the Indians being able to get cheap financing and inventory diamonds. So there's a bubble in India accompanied with a wacko government. Kind of interesting. So these diamonds exist, but they're not on the fingers of little, you know, Indian or big Indian ladies. They're in those safes. They're hanging around. So it's a pretty interesting story over here about the fact that India has become a net importer of diamonds, a sponge effect, and it's a really excess inventory sitting there. I think a lot of it, and you can see this unnatural curve showing you that, wow, look how those things went up. And I don't think there's anything in the economics of the Indian economy. It was strong, but not this strong, everybody. Now, if you look at the net diamond accounts of all the bigger countries, now, again, this doesn't include Europe because, well, Europe's an important market, but I don't know. I just don't have patience for it anymore. It's not nice to say that, but Europe is old. Europe is fat. Europe is lazy. And Europe is fundamentally screwed. But it's just the way it is. I'm not against Europeans, okay? But they figure I'm entitlement. They're suffering from the entitlement concept right through their societies. I exist, therefore, and in Belgium, if you're unemployed collecting unemployment, you're still entitled to a 2-week paid vacation from the government. I mean, I don't understand that. 2 weeks paid, you're not working. Like, what are you doing all day? No, but I'm not working and I am home, but I need my vacation anyways. And the government pays for it. It's socialism gone wacko. It's entitlement. In Spain, all the things we're seeing in Europe are a good indication of this realignment. Remember I said like the world is changing and then the money is going to the east. You can't do that in China or India. So the values are screwed up. The entitlement is messed up, and other people coming. But anyways, I'm not here to knock Europe and India and everybody, but look at these numbers here, okay? So America, like I said before, is about 4 billion. China's at 3 billion, which is an interesting, thing here. 5 billion here, which I think is artificial because of it's not nice, lovely demand. Hong Kong, big. Look at Hong Kong. Constant growth. And 17 billion total. So the overall diamond industry, if you're a mining company, it don't look so bad. Don't look bad at all. America in this game, taking Europe out and Japan out and just taking them, is only 24% of the story. And India is cool but artificial, which leaves us with China. So here's the U.S., India is zooming up like a crazy maniac with too much inventory because of too easy money. But China doesn't have the same credit story. They got problems with the real estate, but not with diamonds. China and India, this is Hong Kong and China together, big winners. Big, big market. That's the new America. Guys, China and Hong Kong and the Far East, they are the new America. Make no mistake about it. Not that America isn't going to remain in America, and thank God we're not like Belgium, but still in all, that's where the action is, baby. It's amazing. Chow Tai-fook went public. Chow Tai-fook is the largest jeweler in the world. They sold 10% of their shares for $2 billion, which gives them a market cap. I have the slides. I couldn't do so much today. But they have a market cap of $20 billion, more than Tiffany, more than Zales, more than Sterling, more than everybody. And they only sell in China, Hong Kong, and Macau. That's it. And two, $20 billion company. Biggest jewelers in the world. So, you think about and that's just the beginning. They're predicting 30% annual growth. We brought a guy out here to buy at the show from Shanghai, and he's complaining. He says, oh, it's terrible, terrible, I was expecting 80% growth this year, and I only got 30%. And 30% growth is just fantastic, when you think about it. But anyways, China is coming across like gangbusters. And that you need to realize that when you look at the balance of power in the diamond industry and stuff. And then this total over here, this is why the banks are so happy. Not banks, but this is why the mining companies are saying, what the heck, I got to sell now? I got to kill myself. I've got a lot of stuff going on over here. I got a 44% growth rate. I mean, 17 billion. Now, maybe some of that speculative Indian is going to come down, but still in all, it's pretty strong. Diamond business is looking almost too good globally. So you got this Indian bubble trouble that I think is going to create as a bump. Easy money drove prices, pushing speculation. It's like a Ponzi game, a tulip trip. So everybody was getting real excited. High rough prices and excess inventory because of Indian credit. Local consumption has come down because the rupee went lousy. So the price, if the rupee dropped 10, 15% in the last 8 weeks, is that right? That means jewelry became 10, 15% more expensive in rupee terms. Which means that if you've got a lot of younger or people that are emerging into middle class, and affordability is an issue, so they're not going to be so inclined to buy diamonds. In the U.S., you can sell an engagement couple something different. But in India or China, they may decide to put off the purchase. I remember being in Shanghai, watching a young couple go into a Swarovski store to buy their engagement ring, with the implicit understanding that when they made some money, he would actually buy a real diamond. So whereas I talked about demand being slippery or easy to supply diamonds in the United States, that may not be the case in China or in India or other countries. Anyways, liquidity crisis, disabled prices, price pushing, and may force sale of excess inventory. India is right now probably the most dangerous market out there because it's so big and it's so reliant and the government is so messed up. So just be aware of that bump that I think may be coming here. Okay. So I looked at the U.S., which I explained to you. We're about 4.7 billion. We're steady. I predict the United States is going to remain steady. The U.S. is a great market, everybody. I don't know if there'll be a QE 3, 4, 5, and 6. If there'll be still more money being dumped out there, but the Federal Reserve Bank has given us until 2013, 14. Easy money, relatively speaking. We have the election year. Certainly, I don't see any big problems in terms of America's going to keep printing money until they run out of ink. And I don't see anybody running out of ink yet. So we're going to have this, I would call it economy based on low interest rates, artificially kept by the government. I mean, what do we got underneath 1.5% on the Treasury. Wow. Unheard of. I don't want to be negative all the time, but in fact, the United States is on financial Prozac. And everybody's smiling, But the fact is, interest rates are artificially low, beyond all imagination. And they're not going to be sustainable forever. But now, in the meantime, have fun. Sell. You're going to be, it's great. Everybody's going to keep feeling good because they're going to try to keep the money availability up there. And, I don't think, I don't know. There's going to be an inflationary cycle that is going to kill us. But it's going to be good for diamonds because people probably want diamonds when there's a lot of inflation. And for me to talk about inflation up here right now, you must think I'm the biggest crazy person in the world. Let's say with coffee. Because, hey, everybody's talking about deflation. How could Rapaport be talking about inflation just when we reach the point where the inflation is low, interest rates are low, and all that? Because I live in the future. I'm not really that interested in what's happening today. I mean, we know what's happening today. I'm much more interested in what's going to happen 3 years from now. So I'm predicting a huge inflationary cycle. I've been saying it for years. I've been wrong for years. But essentially, if you keep printing money, at some stage, you're going to have a lot of inflation. But it's okay. It doesn't matter. It's not going to kill the diamond business. If people have less confidence in the money, they'll have more confidence in diamonds, gold. So, you know, I think that the wealthy, super wealthy, are starting to say, what am I going to do with my money? So they're buying these pink diamonds, and they're buying these arts. Some painting, the Scream, sold for what, $100-something million. You see, it's not the value of the painting. It's the value of the money, okay? The more money out there, the less valuable money is, the more, what the hell am I going to do with money? No, it's true, it's not fair. Rich people got a lot richer, and poor people, well, whatever. But the bottom line is that there's a lot of money among these wealthy people, and they don't know what the hell to do with their money. It'd be nice if they bought some real estate, but that's another story. The bottom line is that we have our diamond business here. So the U.S. story isn't so bad. We came down, we went up, came down a little. Sitting here at about the 4 billion mark. Not to cry. And I think we're going to be relatively stable in the U.S. We'll have some external bumpiness coming at us, like an airplane, you know, bouncing us, but we're going to stay on course probably. Now, the biggest advantage, I should ask this, I showed it to you, too late. What is the most lucrative part of the diamond jewelry business today? Somebody tell me? You're quiet? Everybody's, what? Buying for the public, recycling, you can't miss it. Whoops. Recycling, it's amazing, guys. Think about this. All those baby boomers, they're getting old. There's more diamonds coming out of Florida than South Africa. And remember this, they told it to you, a diamond is forever. People die, but the diamond, it sticks around. No one throws it in the garbage. We as an industry think that we have to buy diamonds from diamond cutters, wholesalers, from mines. We have the best diamond mine right here in America. We should be mining it. We should be buying it. We should be doing all that stuff like crazy maniacs. That's what we do. I can only give you advice about what I do. We started from nothing. We built up a huge business with Rapaport auctions, reselling all those diamonds. It's amazing. 60,000, 50,000, 100,000 carats a month. Boom, boom, boom. Now, if we do this well, you know, if we develop our skills to rebuy from the public at fair prices, not 10 cents on the dollar, please. We build consumer confidence. People say, hey, diamonds are cool. You can buy them, you can sell them. The diamonds are great. You know, I bought them, I can sell them fairly. Right now, I don't know that the diamond recycling business is so efficient. I think it's inefficient, which is why we've introduced Rapaport auctions. Because what happens is you're sitting there, a consumer comes in, shows something to a retailer, and the retailer says, well, I bought this really cheap, you know, and I got 3 of them in the safe. And I was talking to one retailer, their solution was simply, it's so cheap they had to buy it, but they can't sell it because they have so much of it, they just bought another safe. They can't resist buying this stuff. But fundamentally, the problem is that a retailer will say, I only buy what I can sell in my store, which is very limited. So what we're doing at Rapaport auctions, we're saying, just buy it, ship it to us, we'll sell it in an auction at a fair market value, and then move on with life and just buy some more. In other words, the role of the retailer has traditionally been to sell. So you have the shop, you have the store, you have the reputation, and you make money by selling. I'm telling you, you can make as much money, if not more, by buying. You are that node, that connection to the consumer. Retailing is all about having a relationship with your customer. And whether they're buying or whether they're selling shouldn't make a difference. So what we're talking with Rapaport says, look, I don't buy anything. We make markets, fair markets, remember? Fair, efficient markets. So the idea here is to allow retailers to buy stuff that they can't sell in their store, to use them as the ability to buy things, and to get fair market value. So we do an auction. What we do is we take these baggies of diamonds or whatever, we put them on the table. People fly in from around the world, India, China, and they bid on the stuff. So we can't buy stuff, but we can get you fair market value for a commission. So that's an amazing kind of an idea where jewelers should buy in stuff, ship them off, sell them at a fair market value, and just keep buying, keep buying, keep buying. And I believe that's one of the biggest opportunities out here. Plus, it just creates a more fair market. Look, if Mrs. Jones wants to send her granddaughter to college, why shouldn't she? She's got that engagement ring. Her husband's passed on. She doesn't need the ring. Why shouldn't she send her granddaughter to college? Why should she get a fair price for that diamond? If we do that for her, we've enamored her. We've done a good thing. And she'll have confidence. And other people hear about it. So I'm saying resell, buyback is a huge opportunity. And you got to understand also that in that market, there's also supply and demand competition that we need to create. We need to create competition. so that buyers will pay a higher price. And there's also supply side competition out there as well against the mining company. If we put out 100,000 carats of melee and Indian buyers come up and buy that melee in our office in New York, they're not buying that rough from De Beers. So the impact of having a recycled business that's efficient and powerful gives the retailers the same power, so to speak, as the mining companies. And if we create this market, we're now competing. We say, okay, you mining companies, relax. You don't control our destiny. There's more to life than you. If you don't want to play ball and have reasonable rough prices, it's okay. We'll just ignore you. We'll do business without you. Which then makes them think, well, we better be careful here, because if we're overpriced and we don't sell, and there's all these jewelers buying someplace else, then, how are we going to do business? So the power of the retailer should not be underestimated when we look at the diamond and jewelry business. You're always used to being at the end of the supply chain. The people that everybody told what to do. Guess what, guys? You can start getting into the driver's seat a little bit here by creating an efficient resale market. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be going into auctions for jewelry too. So we got a thing out there. Talk to our people. We can't explain. We drop a card off, say, hey, Rapaport Auctions, we want to play this game. So that's cool for us, and we have a lot of fun getting into this, because I see this as a huge, huge way to make money in the next few years. And these baby boomers are going to keep going. Get 10 years of this stuff, at least. Now, if I showed you before that the United States was absorbing about $7 billion of diamonds in 2008 prices, 7 prices. Take that back 30 years, $7 billion in current value, diamond prices went up. Well, you'd be talking about $210, $250 billion out there. So let's say everybody's, they hold the stuff back. Okay, half of it, $120 billion of diamonds to buy over the next few years, 10 years or so. Hey, that's a lot of stuff. So you think, and the diamond mining companies are kicking out 15. So I'm telling you, this is a market that should not be ignored. It's a very, very powerful market. Okay, I'm going to click away here. We talked about these things that we were talking about tonight were pretty mega forces. Like, we don't control the rupee. We don't control the birth rate of people in China. We don't control a lot of things. So, that's mega forces. These are trends that are happening. I mean, women are just unbelievably powerful. You don't realize it, but you know that single women between the age of 20 and 30 out-earn men? The majority of graduates in colleges are all women. Now, this is Time magazine, the richer sex. And, it's amazing. And a lot of people in the jewelry stores thinking it's the guy. Well, guys are important. Women need them for something. But when you get right down to it, women are going to be playing a much more important role in our economy, in our industry. I'm glad to see in the United States you have a lot of women, Women's Jewelers Association. I mean, I think we're going to get so messed up, we'd have to start a men's jewelers association pretty soon. See, these women laugh about that. Men don't get it. They really don't get it. These women, they cluster together. They do great deals. They're very smart. How do you know women are smarter than men, everybody? How do you know for sure? Right in our business. Men buy women diamonds. Right? Women don't buy men diamonds that often. Every guy buys them with it. She's sitting there and she's saying, well, maybe I'll take the diamond from you. Maybe I won't. I mean, it shouldn't say the richer sex. It's probably say the smarter sex. But irrespective of that, if you are not marketing women in a very good way, and what's great about America here, there's a lot of women in the jewelry industry. I speak in India. And other than Pooja Kadwani, who's the head of our office out there, you don't see many women around in the audience. It's all men. Having women in your business, having women who sell, having women out there relating to the potential demand from women is one of the most important things you can do as you move into these next 10 years. They're very, very, very strong. They make a lot of decisions, and they're getting richer all the time. And then, they were talking about, couples and how the women said, listen, I'm at home, and you're the man, and you're earning, but you still have to do the dishes, and you have to do all these things, and there should be equality in our marriage and all that stuff. And that went on for about a few years. Now women are working, making more money than the men. There's a lot of men, I would call house husbands. And now the women are saying, I'm earning all the money. I don't want to do the dishes. You do the dishes. It's like, The social values are changing. It's not just about money, but it's about the impact of money on the relationships and how things are working. And she says, I want to control how we spend the money. So the role reversal here is very tricky in terms of the relationship between men and women in this country, and I think it's going to have an impact on the jewelry industry because the underlying social values are changing. And working women and earning women that earn more than their husbands or boyfriends changes the shift of the power in the relationship. And that's going to change the shift in jewelry too. And women are more into jewelry than men. So it's a good thing for us. Spanish. I think we're at the point where more Americans speak Spanish than not. America is the Anglo-Saxon, the typical American white guy. It's gone. White people can be, we don't think whites, blacks, this, that, and we shouldn't. But the fact is, there's a huge Hispanic market out there. We're telling my guys, turn the Rapaport sheet into Spanish, put up a website in Spanish for RapNet. We have a Chinese one already, but go into Spanish. So you asked me, you met Rapaport, what did he say? 2012, Spanish, 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 women, 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 Spanish women. Wow, that'd be totally great. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of that going on. There's a trend that we're going to go into in a minute because I got to move here, and that is the issue of the synthetics. I'm going to get into that. But before I get, there's one other thing I wanted to recommend. And that's a social trend that you have to be aware of, which is a little scary. There's two farmers, and they're both happy. One guy's got a cow, another guy's got a cow, and they're two farmers, right? And one day, one of the farmers wakes up and he looks across the field to his other farmer, and the other farmer's got two cows. He's got one cow, he's got two cows. So he's a very diligent American kind of farmer. He gets up there. And he starts working another hour a day, another 3 hours a day, another 5 hours a day. He kills himself, and finally he gets two cows, and everybody's happy. This guy's got two cows, that guy two cows. Equilibrium is settled. Social equilibrium is fine. Everybody's happy. And there's another farmer. And he gets up in the morning. He sees his neighbor with two cows, and he's thinking, how can I kill that other cow? How can I destroy it? And there is a trend in America of kill the other cow. And I know they talk about the income disparity in the United States. And one of the great things about the United States has been our competitive and our innovation and our desire to get ahead. And I'm not against President Obama, who was wonderful and doing great things as well. The higher taxes, social, what should I say? Class warfare, if you really want to get down to it, okay? Haves and have-nots is emerging in this country. It's an issue in China, by the way, because of the way wealth is being distributed. It's an issue in the United States. People are talking about it. It's an undercurrent in the society. And if you're a jeweler hanging around, oh, I'm a rich diamond dude. And the undercurrent in the country is starting to come up, kill the other cow, kill the other cow, kill the other cow. It's not that I don't have, it's that he has that pisses me off. And that's a fundamental sickness that people have. I'm upset because he has it. I'm upset about that. Take it away from him. And there is that danger that social norm is starting to become, well, I think it's part of the political campaign to some degree, but it's starting to permeate society. So we as jewelers selling a luxury products need to be aware of it. It's not maybe politically correct to talk about it even, but the fact of the matter is this is one of the big dividing lines in America today. And if we're in America and we're jewelers and we're looking at our markets, we have to think about how to maneuver ourselves so that we are applicable to the less, wealthy people, and how we want to be fair about these things and how we want to relate to it. Because whether it's right or not doesn't matter. The fact is, it's in society, it's there, and we're in the luxury business. And we need to think about that. And I'm not telling you I got any 1, 2, 3 solutions here, but I'm not afraid to bring the subject up. And you got to be aware that change is taking place. Other countries like China and India, why do you think the government's grabbing all that money? It's not that the minister is greedy, he's going to put the money in his pocket. He wants to lower, the people who have less income to get more income from the wealthy. He wants to do this great deal of moving wealth from the wealthy to the less wealthy. And that doesn't necessarily play well in the economic environment. Okay. We can move along here. Synthetic and treated diamonds, I thought was an old subject. I thought it was dead and gone. And everybody knows the 3D's detection. If we can't detect it, the diamond is a diamond, and then it goes the way of cultured pearls, okay? And you're going to say, well, you know, you can't tell. If you can't tell, it's a problem. And by the way, a lot of this you can't tell. I see these small, fancy yellow color, Melly, and all these rings, and I'm saying to myself, what is that? How can you possibly be sure that that isn't treated or synthetic? You know, you could do sampling maybe, but I'm saying detection is important, but you can't just rely on it. Disclosure. If we sell stuff, 500 diamonds came into IGI. They were HPA. They were CVD treated, and they were sold as regular diamonds. The dealers paid the regular price for them. There they are in the market, synthetic diamonds being sold without disclosure, going to 3 and 4 hands in the trade. Laboratory picked it up, but in the trade. And we're dealing now in a world where we have diamonds being sold without proper disclosure. And the only solution is to be able to disclose the stuff, and then there's differentiation. The idea that the market for synthetics has to be kept separate, it's a good market. I'm not against synthetics or treated stones, but you have to differentiate your markets. If you start selling the stuff as regular stuff, it's a big problem. You destroy the confidence in the industry. So, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sale of synthetics without disclosure is a real problem that's happening today. You have to be aware of it. The cat and mouse of discovery of new technology for treatments takes place, and then the laboratories try to catch up, and then the guys do it again. So we're not in a sure thing. What is the most important information on the grading report? Somebody tell me. The date. The date. Because the grading report will only tell you, as of this date, we've used the best technology available to confirm that this diamond is okay. But there might be technology out there at that date that the labs didn't have yet, which means they haven't detected it. You can get a certificate that says D flawless, and then you go back and it says synthetic, or synthetic not so bad, but treated. This is scary stuff. It goes right to the core of our industry. Now, they have triple treatments. They treat the diamond. Then they treat it again to mask the treatment. Then they treat it again to mask the masking of the treatment, so no one knows what the hell happened to the diamond. So the gemological laboratories are in a state of war, cat and mouse, with these guys. And then, look at this one, new trick. You get a diamond that's like a D-flawless. You get an FVS1. You cut the FVS1 to look just like the D-flawless. Same dimensions. And you sell it with the certificate for the D-flawless there, for the FVV1 and a GVS2 or whatever. And then people go, oh boy, the J made a mistake with this one. They didn't make a mistake. It's not the diamond they graded. Talk about bait and switch. This is just switch and switch. This is happening. These are not theoretical discussions. So we have a fundamental problem in our industry right now. Part of it's technology and part of it's just thievery. And confidence. You can't ignore this stuff. So this is the good, the bad, and the ugly. How about the evil, things like blood diamonds? My friends, there are people getting, I guess, killed in Congo or raped or enslaved right now, today. So there are diamonds involved in human rights violations. You have this OFAC situation where you've got diamonds that are, you know, the Merengue diamond fields are in the same list with Al-Qaeda. It shows the United States government, Office of Foreign Asset Control, saying don't buy this stuff. It's not just ethical, which is most important in my view, but it's also legal. And you have this Minerals Act, Conflict Minerals Act about gold coming out of places like the Congo. You have this Patriot Act that says you got to know who you're dealing with. You have this whole idea of knowing who your customer is, KYC, KYS, know who your supplier is. What I'm saying is all this stuff is linked. There's this social trend towards awareness of what it is, social consciousness of consumers saying, I don't want to buy any fish. What is it? Fish Fight. There's a website called Fish Fight or something. Timber. You know, Home Depot. Walmart on fish. Okay? There's this movement among, not all consumers, certainly not in India and China maybe, but certainly in the United States there's this movement. So we have to think about these things coming together. Now, it's a poetic justice over here, because if we don't give a hoot about the diamonds that we buy, and we end up getting some blood diamonds, and somebody gets killed in Africa, we don't really care. Because, you know, what the heck, come on, we're just doing business. Then God is going to come and punish us with people who are going to be putting synthetic diamonds in the mix. It's fair. We'll ruin our reputation. And by the way, you jewelers, You really messed up. You sell that diamond 5 years later, send it back to GIA, comes back as treated. If it's a $100,000 diamond, pay up. You're responsible. You. So this is an interesting story here. And it's all driving to the same thing. Now, the fundamental problem is that authenticity is the core of our business. That's what jewelers do. I'm buying a diamond, I'm going to reputable jewelry because I know I'm getting the real thing. It's essential to who we are and what we do, the authenticity of the product. And we say, oh, that's not my problem. Let the laboratory deal with it. But the laboratories, even if they're great, and they are, and we should support them, and we can do some sample testing, they can't do melee. They can't do some of the other things that we're selling. And then sometimes the technology's ahead of them. By the way, I said the date was the most important thing. A flip side of that is, I'd love to see a certificate from 1980, 1990, because then I know what the diamond was before all the new treatments came in. But it's a tricky business because some people buy a stone with a certificate and then treat it to improve the color, so you think you're getting something better than you are. But I can't make you guys crazy. Authenticity. It's not just a laboratory issue. You cannot absolve your responsibility for what you're doing by saying, it's not my problem, it's their problem. And it's who you're buying from that's more important maybe than the certificate even. Not more important, but equally important. If you sleep with lice, you get lice. If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't make sure who you're dealing with. So this issue of authenticity is major. Everybody can understand this intuitively. Reputational risk. If you sell the stuff, then people are going to trust you. Selling to that issue without disclosure. And even if you were a great guy, if your neighbor jeweler does it, and if enough other people do it, everybody starts saying, diamonds? I don't know, man. Weird stuff. No one's advertising and promoting generic diamonds. Reputational risk is creeping on us because of technology or civil rights or human rights abuses. And, we got to do something. We've got to think about that. Selling products involved in human rights abuses, illegal actions, and sanctions, and that is reputational risk, highly defined. So with a consumer class that is more sensitive to these kinds of issues and threats coming at us, we have to find solutions. So what would the solutions be? What principles can we apply that will address the underlying problem? Now, my view is I can never stop the bad diamonds coming out of these places in the world. I just can't stop them because people are going to throw them in the garbage. The Merengue diamonds or human rights abuse diamonds from the Congo. What I can do is I can create an alternative system for good stuff. In other words, we encourage the good. So what we can do is, we can meet demand for ethical jewelry by socially conscious consumers by creating a supply chain which is monitored and checked so we know what we're dealing with. Now, these are the principles that need to be applied by the diamond jewelry industry. Sorry to get to this. I know the show opens, but we'll still get out there. You're responsible for what you buy and sell. That's the bottom line. Not the laboratory, not anybody else. It's you. You can't say you didn't know. We have an article, one of these things over that I just wrote, it came out, about trust and verification, like President Reagan used to say. But you've got to pay up if, in fact, that diamond isn't what it's supposed to be. And you can't say, I didn't know, I bought it from this other guy, it's his problem. No. You people are members of the trade. You're responsible for what you sell. You got to pay up. You have to investigate your sources. In the old days, you could assume if you bought a diamond on 47th Street or someplace, it's okay. There's so much treatments and shenanigans going around, you no longer have the right to assume that the diamonds you buy are okay. That's a big point. And don't give me this don't ask, don't tell like gays used to be in the military. Well, I didn't know, I didn't look, I didn't check. You have a responsibility as a reputable jeweler, wholesaler, diamond guy, to check what the heck you're selling. Can't assume open market goods are okay. And you got to disclose what you do know and you don't know. Now, look, we're not going to have an audited supply chain for the things we sell. So you say, this is off the market. Seems reasonable. This is an audited chain. This is not. You certainly have to avoid evil. But you just have to be honest about what you're selling. And don't make assumptions. So the solutions that Rapaport is doing is differentiation. We believe in creating a market for good products that's well-defined and selling it at a premium price. Markets cannot be free unless they're fair. Saying I want a free market for diamonds, everybody should participate in the bourses and the exchanges, everybody should be able to cut and sell diamonds in Surat, that's fine. But it has to be a fair market where you're not putting in synthetics and you're not putting human rights diamonds and stuff like that. It's got to be fair if it's going to be free. You cannot have a free market that's not fair with cheaters running around. So a market can only be free to the extent that you exclude the evil people. We're going to be running a campaign for ethical jewelry. And that's going to launch today, pretty much. It's amazing. Come to the fair trade thing, you'll see about it, but I'll explain it briefly. An ethical certification of products where we're going to follow products from the mine through the cert. This is something that's going up. Make the pledge. What we're doing is kind of weird. We're saying, look, everybody, we can't audit everything. But we want you to stand up and say, I'm going to investigate what I'm selling. I'm going to take a proactive position to know who I'm buying from and what I'm doing around here. You may not be perfect, and your supplier might lie to you, but you're making the effort, you're increasing the awareness. And this pledge is going to go to consumers, retailers, and suppliers. And what it means is that eventually, when we get enough movie stars, whoever, to promote it, and NGOs, consumers are going to walk into jewelers and say, hey, have you made the pledge? And consumers are going to say, I want a written statement from you that you've at least reasonably tried to identify your sources. And I know that's not going to make us very popular. I pledge to be responsible for what I buy and sell. I'm not directly, indirectly buy or sell diamonds, gems, precious metals, or jewelry that I know or have reason to know have been involved in unethical activity defined as human rights violations, significant environmental damage, illegal activities, or sanctions. I pledge to honestly, practically, reasonably investigate. You gotta look, you gotta ask the question. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll honestly, fairly communicate ethical status, etc. The point that I'm saying is we're going to go to the public with a grassroots campaign to get people to question jewelers about their supply chain and to differentiate between jewelers who sign the pledge and don't sign the pledge, between jewelers who investigate their source of supply and jewelers who just assume everything is okay. And we think this is going to drive demand and supply for ethical products that people will then be able to say, oh, I would rather pay a little more money and get the ring, and get the diamond, and get the gold that I know has come from some reliable source. So this is a big deal. So product certification, not people. Authenticate rough legitimacy, monitor the production through certification, ethical certification for diamonds with gemological reports. I can't do it for Melly, I can't do it for GIAs. Go on the computer, punch up the GIA number, and you'll say, yeah, this stone's been monitored by a Rapaport thing. And maybe other people will do ethical certification too, but this idea is going to become popular. There's a person here, a person I want to talk about for a minute. His name's Farai Maguwu, and very interesting guy. He's a Zimbabwean human rights activist who announced to people and said to people, he said, listen, they've been killing people here in these diamond fields. And as a reward for doing that, he was arrested. And he was put in a bad way. And he actually risked his life. And he reported on the killings of these artisanal guys. Human Rights Watch gave him the Alison Day Forges Award, which celebrates the valor of individuals who put their lives on the line. How many people put your lives on the line? You know, it's pretty serious. Oh, people in the military maybe, but for human rights. How many people in this room actually put their lives on the line to protect the rights and dignity of others? That's from Human Rights Watch. So Farai is a pretty special individual, and he's real, and he's here. So Farai, I'd appreciate if you just come up here. Farai? I've asked Farai to give you a few moments of... I've asked Farai to tell people what he thinks. This is the real world here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Farai.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Martin, for your very warm introduction. Like Martin says, I work in Zimbabwe. My home is situated about 70 kilometers north of Marange Diamond Fields, which is estimated to have more than 20% of the world supply of diamonds, at least which is known to men today.
Is it okay?
Diamonds were discovered in 2006 in Marange. After the discovery, hundreds of people went into the diamond fields to start digging there. In 2008, government deployed the military into the area, and there was a horrific massacre. Hundreds of people lost their lives. Hundreds of women were raped. People were beaten. They were tortured. And this campaign continued for 2 years. The organization which I led, or which I lead, began the groundbreaking work of exposing the horrific abuses that were taking place in Marange. Our research involved going into the mortuaries or the morgue, take pictures of diggers who had been shot and killed, who had been tortured and killed. It involved going to the residential areas to identify victims of abuse, of rape, of torture, and to get them write sworn affidavits of whatever happened to them. We took this information to the international community in order to drum up international pressure for the human rights abuses to continue, to stop. I'm here to say today, even though the struggle to end the human rights violations is being won, the problems associated with Marange diamonds are far from over. Our biggest problem at the moment is to ensure that the diamonds which are mined from Marange, the money goes to the treasury, and that the Zimbabwean population benefit from the export of these diamonds. We are therefore fully behind the ethical jewelry campaign to make sure that the international community, the business community, the jewelers, when they buy diamonds, they ask where the diamonds are coming from. They try to establish the truth, whether the diamonds which they are buying are being sourced from ethical sources, to try to establish whether the money they are paying is going to the treasury, or else jewelers, buyers, and the consumers may continue to contribute to political conflict in my country by supporting certain groups of people who are using profits from diamonds to cling to power and to violate human rights violations. This may not continue taking in Marange diamond fields, but the money that the jewelers are paying may end up contributing to human rights violations elsewhere in Zimbabwe and even beyond. With these words, I want to thank you for listening to me, and thank you, Martin.
We don't really believe in doing many awards at Rapaport, and we don't take them, and we don't like to give them so much. But this is an exceptional case. What we've done here is we're going to give you a Rapaport Award. Very few ever handed out. Presented to Farai Migui in recognition and appreciation of your courage and dedication to freedom and human rights for artisanal diamond diggers. Farai, didn't tell you he was arrested. He was put in jail for many months, and he was not freed. Thank you, okay? Thank you. Farai and his diggers are as much a part. Yeah, give him a hand. There are such great people in the world. There's so much good out there. It's amazing. And I think that that's maybe one of the main points, is that if we can concentrate on the good, we can't fight all the evil every day, but if we can concentrate on the good, and we can reward the good, we can promote the good, we can do the good, and the evil falls away. The evil will become less relevant. And in fact, the idea behind what we're trying to accomplish here is to, instead of spending time complaining about the bad, do things, create ethical supply chains, create ethical products, market ethical products to customers that want to pay more for them. And I think that's going to be a tremendous opportunity for the diamond industry. Understand this, and I think that maybe this is a huge point. Ethical values as charity don't work. They work a little, but they're not going to change Africa. Ethical values as a business proposition. I'm selling an excellent cut diamond because it's better. I'm using a unique selling proposition for my store because I have an excellent cut. People understand that. I'm selling an ethical diamond product that costs more because of the monitoring of the supply chain. It's a new product. It's a new thing you can sell and make money from that's sustainable, that's economic. And so my plea here is today is the way that we can begin to fix these things. And I don't care if it's, I mean, I care. Human rights is one thing, but synthetics, everything, is by creating alternative, better, added value products. Sexy products that make them cool because they come from a good supply chain. And if the more higher prices get paid for those things, then people have an incentive to say, I want to also join that right. I want to also have ethical. I don't want to have child labor in the mines in Africa. I don't want to have problems with whatever it is the sources are. It gives people the desire to aspire in Africa as well to a higher level of product because that product brings a higher level of prices. By monitoring a diamond, you can add value to it just like you can by cutting it to an excellent cut. Using the private sector, the buyers of diamonds and jewelry, to change the world is actually the best way to change the world. The power that jewelers and their suppliers have to be selective about what they buy and how they buy is the most potent power in the world. It's more powerful than USAID. It's more powerful than mining laws. It's more powerful than anything else. So if we be good, we change the world. The power of our money, the power of our purchases, the power of America, the power of American consumers. It's awesome. So we create a new product category. We create demand for the new product category. We unique selling proposition, adding value, it's all there. And then we not only have a better product to sell, we not only meet our own ethical obligations, we have a better business, and we change Africa. We change the world for the better. And if you ask me, that's the challenge that we're dealing with here. And if we don't take the challenge, then all kinds of things happen, like synthetics or what have you. But if we monitor our supply chain, we do that work, we will actually have a huge impact on the world around us. And in the final kind of discussion, our diamonds, our jewelry, our gold is as good as we are. Thank you. Take precious a minute. There's a fair trade conference coming up at 10 o'clock. Farai will be there. We'll be getting into the details of what's going on with fair trade. But right now, questions. Anybody have any questions? What a good group of people. No questions. Run to anybody? Questions? Yeah, what? Come up here to the microphone. It'll be easier. Then we'll record you as well. And please, feel free. This is the once-a-year shot at.
So you talk about two very big issues. One is buying diamonds from the public. Another is the issue of synthetics and treated and all these types of things. So, I mean, how do you trust, detect when you're buying from a little old lady somewhere?
Well, if the little old lady is, say, speaking Russian, and she's not a little, she's a big burly guy, and she wants cash, then you probably have a problem. There's resale certificates. There's laws governing the purchase of diamonds from the public. Follow them. You know, it's interesting. The Patriot Act is written in such a way that the government doesn't give you exact guidelines. They expect you to increase your surveillance or your awareness based on the conditions. So what you're going to have to do is have a little of a handle on who the person is and what it is, have them sign up, follow the law, and you'll probably be okay. In terms of whether it's synthetic or not, you may want to buy it if it's an expensive item subject to condition GI certification, IGI, HES, some kind of certificate. But I think that basically it's a challenge for us to be able to relate. But could you imagine if it's a challenge for us what it's like for the consumer? Because we are essentially the link between the consumer and the market of diamonds and jewelry. So if we're confused, they'll be confused. So we not even need to get it better. But I think you just follow the law and have a very inquisitive mind. And don't do business. Like I said, we're a value organization. We won't do business if we can make a lot of money if we don't think it's right. So just avoid the bad stuff. But do buy in from the public. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Rapaport. If the seller is responsible for the product that he sells, and the seller may not be a graduate gemologist or have a bona fide gem lab at his convenience to detect all these problems, then why aren't we being more proactive like Farai and exposing these vendors who put us in that situation? Why aren't we introducing the criminality of it and trying to get laws to protect not only the buyer but us as the sellers?
You're 100% right. I mean, we've thrown a number of people off of RapNet for selling merengue diamonds. We haven't announced their names, but I'm implementing a new policy.
Why don't we expose
them?
them?
We are going to start announcing
Why
them.
don't we keep them out of the Diamond Dealer Club for 2 years? Why don't we...
I can't speak for the Diamond Dealers Clubs. I can't speak for other people. I can say we run the largest trading network in the world, in fact, and we're going to start naming names as well in the near future. There's legal implications and stuff like that, but we're going to take the risk. I think that you're 100% right. If we want to have a clean industry, then we have to make it painful for people who are not clean and straight. So I think that that is something we need to do. I know we're changing RapNet to go to individuals and to be more careful. But we do have Patriot Act compliance. We do have other things that we apply so we know who we're dealing with, and we are going to look for it. The point is, you've got to look for the problem. Often people just sit there and say, well, if the problem pops up, I'll deal with it. And I guess the change that I'm trying to introduce into the industry is to be proactively looking for the problems so they don't pop up. And we are going to do that. So you're right. You're 100% right. And I can't speak for other organizations, but Rapaport is going to take a much more proactive stance about disclosing the names of people who are not cool.
It's a nice idea that you're getting sellers to sign pledges.
Yeah.
Why don't we get the vendors to sign them?
Oh, yeah, that's on there too, as suppliers. I think this is what's going to happen. Consumers, we're going to get a bunch of sorority girls across the nation to say, this is our campaign for the year. And they're going to write people like the heads of jewelry stores. They're going to say, if you're not on that list, if you, Mr. Jeweler, haven't made the pledge, I don't want to buy from you. Grassroots. The other thing is, and I should have mentioned this before, 3 words on your invoices, everybody. Natural, untreated diamond. If you don't get those words on the invoices, don't pay it. Send back the item. So I'm saying if you insist that your supplier make a written, firm commitment, they're going to be afraid to say something, then you know that you've got them. So I'm not saying you could rely on passing the buck completely, but you should say natural, untreated diamond on your, or say, we don't know. You might not know that if it's a natural untreated diamond. In the case of pawn shops or selling goods, they may not know, because there could be synthetics mixed in there. Just be honest. But if you can buy a diamond as a natural untreated diamond, ask your supplier to write just 3 words, doesn't take a lot of ink, and then you know that when if the stone sells or not. And I don't have solutions for Melly so easily, but certified diamonds, we can certainly trace, we can certainly go back and we know what we're doing. Good. Any more questions? This is great. Oh, there's one.
As I understand, part of the merengue diamonds are legal, going through legal chains, and part of them are not? Or all the Zimbabwe diamonds are basically something that we should avoid of? Because I see a lot of Zimbabwe diamonds when I go out and purchase.
Well, this is one of the big failures of the diamond industry. First of all, there are probably diamonds coming out from Rio Tinto, Murawa, that are not 51% owned by the Zimbabwean government or military, which may be legal even here. But the Kimberley process has issued certificates for these diamonds, and OFAC has put the names of these companies on the sanctions list, which means they're legal in India and they're illegal in the United States. So essentially, they're pouring millions of carats of diamonds into the mix, into the production mix. And they're kind of selling them, don't ask, don't tell. But United States companies, I wrote a letter to OFAC, the Office of Foreign Assets Control, and I said, what's the standard? The standard is if you know or have reason to know. And third-party transactions, your responsibility doesn't waive anything. You have reason to know the diamonds coming through may be merengue diamonds. You have to ask the question. You have to take reasonable due diligence not to buy those diamonds. So all the diamonds, except for maybe the Rio Tinto diamonds, at this stage, so Rio Tinto has a problem there too, I would think, because the government is insisting on 51% ownership. Those diamonds are illegal for trade in the United States of America. Just don't buy them. As a matter of fact, on RapNet, we're going to go to greens. We're going to say no green use, because we would rather throw out a few legitimate diamonds. A vast majority of, a lot of greenish diamonds, vast majority, are from merengue. So maybe it pays to be a little more careful. I would not buy a diamond with a greenish hue, and we're going to introduce instructions in RapNet not to put them out there either. Speak up, yeah?
Same issue. Today on RapNet, there's a lot of diamonds sorted with GIA. I mean, mostly probably the first pages are full of Zimbabwe diamonds being sorted by GIA.
We're checking them. I hope they're not. If they are, we're going to get. We've thrown people off, and we'll continue to do that, and hopefully we'll even name them. But We have people, we have an office in Surat, we're checking, but if you think that, send me an email and I will look into it. We will investigate. We will spend money investigating.
Maybe
okay?
something should start from the GIA.
Well, GIA's got their own game, and I think they also have a rule that says don't do it. I don't know how they can enforce it. We have an office in I was in Surat, and I gave a speech explaining this, and I spoke to the gurus. A lot of the people in the Indian community are Jains, and there's some Jain gurus, and Jains are beautiful people. They're very anti-violent. And the gurus have said they'll support me on this as well. So I think that one of our goals also is to create education. Maybe I'll get Farai to come out to Surat, but to get education so that the people in India also understand. Many people in the diamond industry think that if it has a Kimberley process certificate, it's okay. There's no human rights violations. But in fact, it's totally not true. The Kimberley process does not deal with human rights at all. Nada. And certainly, if you have a Kimberley process certificate, it doesn't mean that your diamond is not involved in human rights. So I'm going back and saying it's up to you. It's up to the jeweler to know what they're selling. And it's a great added value service for your client. The more proactive and the more sensitive and the more careful you are about the products you sell, the better your brand, the more you're adding value for your customers. So if you can position yourself as a company who is socially aware and socially responsible, not just talk it, but not just give charity, but be on top of the products you sell, I think that you're adding value, and I think consumers are going to flock to you over time. So this is an opportunity for everybody to get involved in. Okay, any more? Oh, go ahead.
How long, when we retailers start buying from the street, with your idea of RapX, is that what you're talking about? What is the time frame for turning around in terms of monetizing the...
RapX will be, first of the auctions, which we're doing, there's 2-week turnaround, 3-week turnaround. We're going to come up with a major U.S. campaign. Send us your jewelry, send us your stuff. We're putting it into an auction. We're getting auction by tender, so people fill in these envelopes. Thursday, you got the bids. 1 week later, within 3 weeks, you should have your money. In terms of RapX, which is an exchange, it depends on your price. Price is cheap, you'll sell it in a second. Price is high, you'll never sell it. So RapX is a transparent market with bid-ask prices, which is a commoditized market for certified diamonds. And the auctions are for everything, from melt to signed pieces. And what we're trying to do here is to create a fair market value so people can get in and out, even if they're not selling it in their stores. If jewelers start to buy stuff that's not just for their store, they can buy in 10 times as much goods that can make a lot of money. Yes?
Martin, a simple suggestion. Ask retailers if they go to a supplier right here at the show and ask them for a certification of ethical processes and compliance with U.S. laws. You will find that almost zero do that. It's the easiest way to leverage what you talked about, which is the power of the American retailer. With the exception of major chains in this country, retailers don't ask anything of their suppliers.
Right.
And that's the first big, easy step to start to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That's why we're putting the pledge out there. We think consumers are going to ask retailers for statement, and then the retailers are going to ask their suppliers, and we're starting this chain. But there's no question about it. If you're more aware people are, and the world doesn't turn on a dime. We have tens of thousands. We got 20,000 people from the jewelry industry at this show today. We have 3,000, say 22,000 jewelers, 3,000 suppliers at the show. That's not going to turn on a dime. But the reason for the speech, and the reason that we're doing these things, is to in fact raise that level of awareness, as well as the ethical campaign that we're going to put out there. So yeah, that's good advice. Ask but your supplier may not be able to do it yet, and you don't want to get a phony signature. Be serious about what you're doing. Be rational. Apply common sense, and just make sure that people don't just sign things like you don't blindly. All right, everybody, thank you all very much. Have a great day at the show. Thanks for coming to the Rapaport Breakfast.